What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the NerdWide podcast. This is episode 67. I'm your host, Tyler Haynes, with my good friend and, an okay Braves fan, Chris Rivers. Chris, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Tyler?
I'm doing great. Listen, started this 7 to 4 work week this past week. It's
Hmm.
excellent. I don't know what it is about that extra hour I get in the afternoon, but it's nice. I can
Yeah.
do so much more room for activities. I feel like I'm, more awake, I guess, because usually I go to bed about 8:30 ish. But if I get off at 5, I'll have like 3.5 hours just to hang around with that over the house. Now I've got 4.5 hours, and it's quite nice. I can't complain. How's your week been?
Go to bed. You go to bed at 8:30.
Yeah, I get up at 2:50. So
Oh.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. Well, okay.
Uh,
I try to get up at 2:50. These past 2 weeks have not been good. So
gotcha. No, my week was pretty good. Work is work,
yeah,
and I don't know. There was something about this week though. I'd come in and it's just kind of one of those low energy weeks
yeah.
when I got in, and so I didn't do a whole lot in terms of watching stuff outside of what we're watching for the show. So
Oh, do I have some
didn't
stuff
get
that
to.
we're going to talk about? Because I have been, I guess, busy for our show wise
Yeah.
at least. So
Yeah.
I got a lot to talk about.
This upcoming week though is going to be something 'cause the NFL draft happens next
Mm-hmm.
weekend, or this coming weekend as this comes out, and then so for that I'm going to watch Draft Day, the Kevin Costner movie,
I don't think I
and
have
then
seen that.
so I'm planning to watch that, and I'm going to watch that second Sherlock movie too,
Oh,
just to go ahead and
I
finish that
almost
set off.
watched that this week. I almost watched it.
But that's the plans for this upcoming week. Those two things are usual stuff that we'll watch, and the draft.
Yeah,
So
this is gonna be an exciting week. The draft
yeah.
is always fun, anyways. I've been like outside of our nerd world. I've been watching the Memphis Grizzlies playoff games.
Hmm.
So some disappointing nights.
Yeah.
I mean, I just got finished with Game Four. I stayed up till midnight last night watching it, which is during the weekend, it's not really a big deal.
Hmm.
But watched the game Thursday night, which was just absolutely bonkers of a win. But now with the series is tied and the officiating for the whole playoffs as a whole, not just the Grizzlies and Timberwolves, but from everybody has been horrible, and
Yeah.
everybody has noticed. So we'll see if anything happens. But
Probably not.
no, no. But guys, this is the NerdWide podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to either our YouTube or podcasting service of your choice. If you enjoy the show, make sure you leave us a thumbs up on YouTube or give us a good rating for your podcasting apps. If you don't enjoy what you see or hear, make sure you leave us a comment. Let us know how we can improve the show. As always, if you go the extra little mile, you can always go to patreon.com/nerdwide. Toss us a couple dollars that way if you so feel inclined to do so. And there's 3 different tiers there if you want to get a little couple goodies if you want to go that way. I know you just said you haven't been watching anything crazy this week. Nothing. You been catch up on any of your shows or anything like that?
No, not really. This week, like I said, has been pretty quiet. So
Oh, Chris, let me tell you about a show I have started this week. Started Legacies again. Tried to give
hmm
it a little bit. I think I got finished with episode 2. And I said, you know what, this show is not for me. I'm gonna watch something else that's been in my list on Netflix for a while. Which put a pin in Netflix. We're gonna come back to them here in a minute.
oh yeah.
But I was like, oh, I've had this CW show in my list for a while. I really want to check it out. It's a little show called All American. So it is a CW show about a football player in the NFL now by the name of Spencer Pasinger. So this is
Hmm.
about it's a drama. It's a quote unquote drama based on his life. Of course, everything is not 100% accurate because you do have to televise things and make it more watchable and more dramatic as CW does. But they've even tweaked his name and things like that. And Chris, I am all in. I am on just finished episode 14 of season 1. And this is a show that has not been canceled by the CW yet. So they are going into season
Yet.
4 this week. You know how CW does. I don't think they've been picked up for season 5 yet, but I know they haven't. I'm not sure. I haven't really looked too much into them other than what I've watched, but I have
Hmm.
been addicted. Like there's times where I'm hooked. Like I've even been watching it on the big screen. I normally watch it while I'm doing other things throughout the week. I'm not going to say in case people are listening. Um, it's just been so good, man. It is phenomenal. It's Tay Diggs is one of the main characters in it, and man, it's truly good. If you like football shows, products, things like that, this is a good one, especially with our CW spin. And get
Right.
this, Greg Berlanti, executive producer.
Hmm.
I'm like, oh, okay. No wonder I like this a lot.
Yeah.
Amongst other things, like the IMDb things. Well, a star high school footballer player from South Central is recruited to play for Beverly Hills High School. Two separate worlds collide. And let me tell you, this show is all over the place in a great way. You've got, I'd say, about 4 or 5 main characters. Obviously,
Hmm.
Spencer James, who is Spencer Pasinger, his character is your main one. But the Beverly Hills side and then the Crenshaw side is really good because you deal with gangs, you deal with family dynamics. It's really good, and I really say if you like football things, watch this because this show is way too addicting and way too good. The Memphis Grizzlies I've watched, and I think that's it as far as TV. That sums up
Yeah.
everything I've been watching, and I can't get off of All American. So
Yeah. Watching a playoff series like that can it takes up time. You're usually
mm-hmm.
watching 3 hours per game, so
Yeah, and that doesn't include commercials or the halftime because at halftime I get up and do something around the house because I
yeah.
usually don't care what else is going on. But see, Superman and Lois we got coming back this week finally. I think it's episode 9 is what we come back with. But Chris, we have a show to talk about. That is
Do we?
Moon Knight episode 4 titled The Tomb. I didn't have any Easter eggs from this one. I didn't even catch on to any Easter eggs in it. More mythological than anything for this one.
Mm-hmm.
But as usual,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to Decider.com by Sean T. Collins for this breakdown. What happens to what happens to a superhero whose superpowers are suddenly taken away? What good is a Moon Knight who is no longer a knight powered by the moon? How long can such a person last? About 50 minutes, give or take. Cheeky. Titled The Tomb, Moon Knight Episode 4 follows Stephen Grant and Layla, the estranged wife of Grant's Mark Spector personality, as they attempt to infiltrate the tomb of Ammit and stop her dangerous follower, Arthur Harrow, from resurrecting her, all without Mark's avatar powers to protect them now that Khonshu has been sealed away. It doesn't really go well. I mean, it goes alright for a while before Mark confesses to being present at the mercenary raid during which Layla's archaeologist father was killed. Mark himself was shot by his own partner and then gets shot by Harrow and then tumbles into a pool of water and floats off into nothingness. For example, Layla saves them from Harrow's forces by tossing a lit flare into a box of ammo on their truck, blowing them full of holes. Clever work. That was all over the place. That paragraph was.
Yeah.
Um, so they break it down further, but we'll get there. Not even gonna talk about that. Yeah. All right. Here we go. Within the tomb, Stephen and Layla navigate the place's labyrinth layout. It's a maze in the shape of the Eye of Horus symbol. Dodge and reanimated undead priest walk along a
Mm-hmm.
treacherous Indiana Jones Goonie-style crumbling ledge and stay one step ahead of Arthur and his followers. A lot just happened there. I want to talk about this scene though. I know, and I watched this with my brother. We watch it on the group watch and everything. Was this when they were down in the tomb, getting the way to the tomb? Was it just really dark for your screen too?
Yeah.
Like especially the where the hole was, it was so dark. I was like, I don't understand what's going on here. Like I could see Layla's face occasionally, but I was like, I don't understand what
Uh-huh.
we're watching. And Zach said the same thing, and it was like, I mean, I get it what's going on, but they really should have brightened it up a little bit, if you ask me.
A little bit. Yeah, for sure. Um, Mine might have been just based on what you're describing, a little bit lighter.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, but I watch on a laptop. I don't know
Yeah.
if my settings on the laptop are.
Or usually I think this is a show that's being watched in the dark because we watched it and the sun was still up, which is not normal for us.
Yeah.
Uh, but that's what I thought it was. But then he said the same thing. I was like, I don't know then. This scene was pretty cool. We got a lot of backstory. We figured out why Arthur was trying to pit Layla against Mark. And it turns out Mark was a part of the mercenary group that killed her father, albeit he didn't kill her father, and he was
Right. He
betrayed by the
tried
guy
to
that
stop
did.
it.
But he was guilty by association here and did
Yeah.
not tell her, which is a big no-no. But to be
I
fair,
love.
he was going to go tell her, and then fell in love
Yeah.
with her. So
Yeah, I love how when she confronts Steven, because Steven's inhabiting the body at
Hmm.
the time, she confronts him, and he immediately is like, nope,
Right.
and gives it right back over to
Yep.
Mark. He's like,
Mm-mm. No,
I'm
not
not
doing
getting involved in this.
that. It's very smart. I mean, I would do the same thing. I really enjoyed this episode particularly because it felt very National Treasury and very
Hmm.
Indiana Jonesy, and I love those kind of movies like where you're hunting for historical pieces like the Mummy Returns, things like that. I love, and that's what this felt like a whole lot to me. They even discovered the actual tomb of Amit. More specifically, it's the tomb of Alexander the Great. Turns out the Macedonian conqueror was once Amit's avatar, and he's been buried in pharaonic, I think I'm saying that right, fashion with Amit's Ustabi, the statue that seals her away, embedded in his throat. Overcoming his revulsion, Stephen grabs it before anyone else can. This was really cool, and I also saw a graph earlier. You can always look up Google Trends, and
Hmm.
the tomb of Alexander the Great was Googled so much more times than what it normally was in the past week, and I was like, okay, that's funny because it truly that's something that hasn't been found yet. I was like, I did not know that,
Right.
and
Yeah.
who knew? Moon Knight found it.
Yeah, well, that's the cool thing about using real history like that too, is because now people are learning kind of on their own
Right.
because it gets them curious, so they Google, and people are sitting there reading through Wikipedia or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, and they're learning something while they're watching the
I
show.
learned something because I didn't know he was not found or still not found yet.
Yeah.
And makes you wonder where he is, Chris. I mean, couple dollars, I'll go try and find him. I won't go far, but I'll try.
It's a lot of area to search because
Right.
he was 33 when he died, and he had conquered the entire known world at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, which makes you think, I'm older than 33. What have I done?
Right.
That's
What have I done with my life? uh, Harrow and his goons show up. Mark, who is taking control of his and Steven's shared body after Layla confronts him about the mercenary attack, kills some goons, but gets shot and turned by Harrow and tumbles out into space. This was trippy because when he fell back,
hmm
he is on a slab and there's water there, but it wasn't like it's a pool of water. It's just some water sitting on the slab, and then you see he keeps falling. And I'm just thinking,
hmm
like, okay, maybe he's going into the night, Moon Night. Haha. No, he gets put in a mental hospital. And this
Yeah.
really is where it messes with your brain. The episode ends with a segment set in a mental hospital, seemingly cribbed directly from Moon Knight's canonically stepsister show, Noah Hawley's Legion. I did not know that. I don't know why I put that there, anyways. Here, Mark is heavily sedated and obsessed with an old Indiana Jones ripoff called Tombbuster, which is the lead character, which is a dashing archaeologist by the name of Stephen Grant. And everywhere you look, there are reminders of what's happened in the show, as with Mark and Steven's Egyptian quest. Tombbuster
hmm
features a lunar god. One patient has a scarab plushie, another is drawing a bird with a skull for a head, which is Khonshu, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of things here. More importantly, Mark's doctor is Arthur Harrow, complete with a trademark cane and a painting of an Alpine village on the wall. It takes a minute or two to have him, but eventually Mark freaks out over Arthur's attempt to treat him and makes a run for it. Somewhere in the asylum, he stumbles across a sarcophagus containing Stephen, and they have a happy reunion. They run down the hallway, now without looking in one door with another sarcophagus, put a pin in that, will come back to it. And then they're confronted by a hippo that just seems with a cheery hi, and both men scream like frightened children. And that's the end of the episode.
So the
Um,
hippo is one of the goddesses.
yes, Tawaret,
Yeah.
Tawaret, the fertility goddess.
Yeah.
So,
And Donna, who was Steven's boss at the museum,
mm-hmm.
is the one that's seen in the hospital hugging the plushy scarab.
Oh, I didn't even know. I
Uh,
didn't even notice that. That's
the
smart.
yeah, the orderlies were the cops,
Yep, I noticed that
or
one.
the fake cops
The
that
one
came
giving the
looking for
speech
him.
at the beginning was
He was the
statue.
statue.
I thought that was
Yeah,
very well done.
he was calling bingo numbers,
Right.
and I saw one video um, with Eric Voss over on New Rockstars, and he pointed out those aren't real bingo numbers.
Mm,
Like they were calling out numbers that weren't actually bingo numbers.
interesting.
So is that a clue to something? Um,
Let me Google.
But yeah, the one theory that I've seen is that they are in the underworld,
Oh, that would make
and
sense.
so they're locked down there with the other gods and goddesses. And Tawame, I think is that how you say it? Tawame.
Talame,
Um,
yeah.
she is probably just the first one that they've encountered. And it, based on how the episode started, there's some people who are thinking maybe the gods and goddesses who are still speaking through avatars on Earth have conspired to lock these other gods and goddesses away. And
Huh.
Mark and Steven are going to help free them.
That's
Because
that makes sense.
he also sees Layla down there, but she's not down there.
Well, I googled the Easter eggs, and a lot of these I did never notice. But I'm going to Game Rant for this one. This is by Amanda Bruce. So we saw the trapped gods at the beginning
Mhm.
when they put Khonshu's statue up there. There's like 10 of them, I think. We also see that's at the beginning of the episode when Stephen and Layla approach the entrance to the tomb they're searching for. The camera cuts to reveal a goat watching them from a cliff. While that might seem
Mhm.
inconsequential to some of the audience, other audience members might remember that Stephen ran into a goat when he first found himself in the town where Arthur Harrow and his followers live in episode 2. So it seems like an odd coincidence for a goat to watch him now. But though, it says Khnum is one of the Egyptian deities often depicted with the head of a goat or a ram. He was known as the divine potter because, as the god of the Nile, he was thought to own the clay in the river during the flood. Khnum was also thought to be was thought to use the clay to shape children, and even some of the other gods. A bunch of scarab references, like we said earlier. But here's one: Layla's comic book connection. Abdullah Al Fali is the name Layla uses to reference her father when she attempts to confront Mark about his death. That name explains why Layla isn't named after Mark Spector's comic book wife, Abdul Fal. Abdul Fal is a character who debuted in Marvel Comics in 1977, also known as the Scarlet Scarab. He was a protector of
Mhm.
Egypt who attempted to keep invading forces out in the 1940s. His comic book story is combined with a piece of Mark's comic book backstory. So,
And if you notice in the hospital scene, when she leans down, she's
uh-huh.
got
The
a
Band Aid.
bandage, yeah, with a scarlet scarab on it.
See, this is stuff I never know. People noticing these things is crazy because I didn't never notice it.
Yeah.
So, importance of Alexander the Great. Okay, the tomb that Stephen and Layla find surprises Stephen as he comes to believe it's the resting place of historical figure Alexander the Great. While he's a real life part of history, Alexander the Great is also a character in Marvel Comics. Kang the Conqueror is actually a huge admirer of Alexander the Great. During the reign of Alexander, he's so consumed by his own power and status that he proclaims himself to be the son of Zeus. Not much Greek
Mhm.
mythology has been included in the MCU outside of the Eternals, but Zeus is on his way to the MCU. This is future spoilers for talk about later, but the new Thor Love and Thunder trailer came out this week, and Zeus is in it.
Yeah.
Let's see, Russell Crowe is playing him in Thor Love and Thunder. It's entirely possible this might not be the last time we see Alexander the Great. Then it goes through all the callbacks to the institution, and then the big one that I want to know about: who was in that third sarcophagus that they just ran past and closed the door? I think that's the one that killed people in episode 3.
Mhm.
Because, Mark, we had the whole conversation. Mark said, why'd you kill them? He goes, that wasn't me. And he said, well, it
Right.
wasn't me. And that was kind of it. So I think that's the third identity that's hiding in his body that we know nothing about yet.
Yeah.
It would probably be named at the very
I
end of
agree.
the series for some reason.
Yeah. Um, One thing that I'm wondering is, so we're getting all this about Egyptian gods and goddesses, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Thor: Love and Thunder is going to have the God Butcher in it.
Mm-hmm.
So, are we going to see something?
That's what everyone is. I mean, it's not a coincidence. I mean, and again, Kevin Feige and the MCU don't do anything on coincidence. It's all
No.
planned for some reason, and that's what a lot of people are wondering. Well, do we get our first glimpse of the God Butcher at the end of this show? So, I mean, because they never showed it in the trailer of the movie, so
Right.
who knows? I can see it.
Although his action figure's been released and people are not happy.
Yeah, that's yeah.
They're like, this doesn't. I saw someone. They said that he looks like the action figure looks like Death from Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Really?
Yeah,
I just actually figured I'm gonna pull it up. Oh, I think it looks fine. I could see why they said that though. Wow.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a little. All right.
It's
Yeah,
eh,
it's okay. Yeah. So,
it's a little iffy.
but that was Moon Knight episode 4. I thought it was a good one. I think it's a very cool because someone pointed out at the end of the episode when both Mark and Steven scream at Tower Rep that each of them had a different pitch. Each of them screamed differently because of different personality. I thought, oh, that's a nice little catch they put in there, which, of course,
Yeah.
they do everything. I feel like Oscar Isaac did a phenomenal job. And so did Ethan Hawke every episode. Does a great
Yeah,
job. But Oscar Isaac was fun to watch in this one.
definitely.
2 episodes left,
It was a
though.
it was a fun episode.
Yeah.
It's not connected right now to anything else in the MCU. There's
Mhm.
nothing that ties it. They haven't mentioned anything. Um, so I'm really curious how they're ultimately going to do that. We've talked about, do we get a situation like we got at the end of Eternals where Blade vocally or physically makes an appearance?
Mm-hmm.
Um, do we see the Black Knight show up here?
I think,
Is
out of
there?
all of them, is Black Knight for me.
Yeah,
Which I think there's 3 possibilities if they catch the MCU. Which the article you sent me earlier was saying how great it is because it's a standalone. It doesn't really directly tie into the MCU yet.
uh-huh,
But I think there's those 3 possibilities: Gore the God Butcher in the last episode somehow,
right.
Black Knight or Blade. It's one of those 3 somehow is how we're gonna tie it in.
What would be interesting is if they brought the Eternals
That would be,
in.
see, that's what I thought would happen because he's at a museum in England,
Yeah,
and that's where everybody else is in Eternal. So like
yeah.
that'd be the easiest way to do it.
And you figure they've encountered the pharaohs
Right.
and the gods and goddesses of Egypt before.
Especially the
So,
avatars. Like how would they not know about the
yeah.
avatars?
Hmm.
But we've also found out the avatars don't like to be known. We found out last episode the guys don't like to be known that they're still
Right.
around, which is whatever to me. If there's gods walking around us, I kind of want to know,
Yeah, it'd be,
just personally. Next
be
week will
helpful.
be episode 5, and I mean we're more than halfway done with the show, and it's one of the biggest complaints I still have. I don't. This either needs to be longer or just make it a movie. Personally,
But with a movie we get less.
that's true. I just want more. I just that's my biggest gripe, honestly. So
They should do 10 episode seasons.
yeah, I think that I'd be okay with that. 10 episode seasons for all of them. I'd be down
Yeah.
with. Next week will be episode 5. I've only got one notable news story here, but it's a big one and a good talking piece here we could jump off of. Netflix has lost 200,000 subscribers in Q1 and expects to lose another 2 million in Q2. I'm going to the HollywoodReporter.com by J. Clara Chan and Alex Warpin. This is a little bit of a lengthy piece, but it's a lot to go to talk about. We will. Netflix lost 200,000 subscribers during its most recent quarter, a major setback for the streaming giant has seen exponential user growth over the past decade, as the company disclosed that it fell far short of its own low expectation of 2.5 million subscriber adds at the start of 2022. The streaming giant lost subscribers in nearly every region except for the Asian Pacific market, where it saw a net add of over 1 million subscribers. Netflix lost around 640,000 subscribers in the US and Canada region during the first quarter, a larger drop than its previous subscriber loss in the region last year, and saw a 300,000 subscriber loss in Europe, the Middle East, Africa, and 350,000 loss in Latin America. The losses are expected to be continued into Q2 when Netflix predicts it will lose an additional 2 million subscribers. Let's see. I'm trying to.
Not surprising though.
No, not
Not
after what they're doing right now. I'm trying to see if we get
well,
down to the root cause of it. They didn't
I
have it.
mean,
So
if you add up all those regions around the world, it's probably already 2 million.
right.
So they're expecting another 2. But if you lose the 200,000 initial was for the U.S., right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you lose another 200,000 in the U.S. based on our population, that's a drop in the bucket. You lost 400,000 Americans, and
They lost several
okay,
100 million in stock prices this week after this story came out.
yeah, but I mean, we're coming out of quarantine,
Mm-hmm.
so a lot of people are going to cut streaming services. Plus, on top of it, you've had others launch, and people are only going to spend so. I mean, the point of cutting cable and going streaming is to save money.
Yep.
So if you have all these streaming services, you're spending as much as you did on cable. You're going to cut some of them. And they just lost out to some of the other companies.
Yeah.
It's not, I feel like there's an overreaction. I do wonder what caused the bump
Well,
in
I'm
the
glad you.
Asia Pacific market.
Well, I don't know about there. I know here there is a big thing because they went up in prices. Right, they're close to $20 a month now, which
Hmm.
again, for for me personally, how much I watch on it, that's not a big deal. Like I mean that's about right there. Because I mean I just sit here and talked about. It. I'm still watching. That's all I watch on my shows is from CW and Netflix now.
Well,
But
if you watch two movies, you've paid for it.
right, that's a good point too. And they've said 2 weeks ago that they are looking into a way to quit password sharing between people,
Hmm.
and that's going to cut a lot of things because a lot of people are like, well, why? Then it doesn't make any sense. I mean, they're still making a lot of money, and they're canceling people's favorites TV shows. That's what a lot of people issues like I've seen all over the internet is that
Yeah.
why serves them right. They've canceled all the shows that are popular. So
Well, I think from what I've heard, the password sharing that they want to cut out is, um, say you live, well, we both live in the same metro area, but you're in a different section of town than I am. So if I give you my password, that's what they're wanting to cut out. They're perfectly fine if you have another user set up on your account
right,
because they give you that option. So I'm not gonna hate on them for
yeah,
cutting out.
yeah,
It'd be like
it's
if I went online and I posted, "Hey guys, here's the password for my Netflix. Anybody that wants to use it."
right,
It
yeah,
is,
it's. But so you can also do it. There's multiple ways you could do it, and I've seen people do it. Like I pay for Netflix monthly, and you pay for Apple TV monthly, and
right.
we share passwords. Stuff like that. There's not we don't both have that subscription, but it's it's a slippery slope. But to expect to lose another 2 million in Q2, that's a, I mean, ouch. That's not for the best. So
No, but it, it was bound to happen.
yeah,
It's just
this is the streaming wars ring right now. Everyone's going
yeah.
to pay for a month when the new series comes out. Well, that's what thing Netflix doesn't do. Netflix drops everything all at once, besides like some of their
Hmm.
reality stuff. But they drop everything all at once. All you have to do is pay for a month, cancel it, and then come back when that show comes back, like Cobra Kai, for example, or The Witcher. Like,
Right.
but I watch way too many shows. That's where I get most of my content from. Is from Netflix. So I'm a Netflix for lifer, I guess. Releases this week? Nothing. There's nothing on TV coming out this week.
Nothing. Just the draft.
Right, just the draft. But don't underestimate that.
We'll have a draft drinking game or something like
Yeah,
that.
that's always fun. It sounds like heartburn
Yeah.
for me, but I'll do it. So
All right, on to movies. Tyler, have
yes, sir.
you watched anything else?
No new movies for me this week.
No?
Mm-mm. No, nothing for me.
Well,
I
that's
no, just all American, and then the Memphis games.
yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch anything extra either. Probably do it this next week though.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe tonight I'll start one of them. But that gets us right to our movie of the week. We finally watched on HBO Max, not Netflix.
Mm-mm.
We watched we watched The Batman, starring Robert Pattinson, Colin Farrell, all sorts of wonderful,
Mm-hmm. Zoe
wonderful
Kravitz,
talents.
our
Zoe
Pats.
Kravitz.
Um,
Yeah. So
do you want to
the
do
story
spoilers
here,
or no?
it's been out for a minute, right? Like
It's
it's been
been
out.
It's been allowed at least 45 days. Yeah, let's do spoilers. It's full spoilers for the
Okay.
Batman. If you haven't watched it, pause now and come back to us.
Um, so the basic plot, I mean, the basic plot's always the same on Batman movies. He has grown up to become a vigilante in Gotham after his parents were murdered. And what we see here is this is very similar to like Batman Year One or Batman Year Two.
Mm-hmm.
That this is it's early on in the crime fighting. Um, we see him meet for the first time Selena Kyle. He knows who Penguin is already because Penguin's an established criminal. Um, he meets the Riddler for the first time. Gordon is not the commissioner yet.
Mm-mm. Even at the end of this
Uh,
movie, he's not commissioner yet. Which
yeah,
I thought they would have easily. I know how they could tie that into it, but I was like, you could easily put that in the
the
movie. But
commissioner, the commissioner gets killed.
yeah, that's where I thought it was coming.
Yeah, and I figured it's probably a case where they just didn't show it.
Yeah.
Um, you and I were talking before the show about you said this made you really want to see more of Gotham,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like it kind of reminded you of that. That's exactly when I was watching the movie, I was like, this could have used Gotham as a launching pad
Yep.
almost. And it's got that same gritty feel. Obviously, it's got different actors in it.
Right.
Um, but the Bruce Wayne from Gotham, you could easily see turning into this Bruce Wayne.
Right. Little skinny little twig of a guy, for the
Yeah,
most part. I mean, he was bulked up. Our past was bulked up in this movie, but not Ben Affleck bulked up.
not Bale.
No, not Bale either. But he's still buff, but just not crazy.
It's tone, not mass.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the whole story revolves around the Riddler. He's attempting to take out the elite of Gotham, who he perceives as being the problem, and Batman's attempting to stop him. And he's not really successful.
Mm-mm.
It's it's a very weird part of the movie because it's like, well, he still ultimately did what he wanted to do.
Right.
Batman's able to minimize the damage, is all
Eh,
that it is.
to an extent, a little bit.
And we also get, for a very brief moment, back in Arkham with the Riddler, we get a hint of the Joker.
So that is the Joker. There's an extended scene that came out last month. I'm pretty sure that was so. At the end of the movie, he had that interview. Batman had the interview with the Riddler
Hmm.
with Paul Dano, and there's a deleted scene that they released of him in that same exact thing, but it was the Joker on the other side. Like he was investigating him, and it's Barry Keoghan who plays the Joker.
Now, the what we see in the finished film, you can't really get a good look at the Joker.
Mm-mm.
He's sort of in silhouette, and the way that he laughs. If we talked about Gotham, I went right back to Cameron
Yep.
Monaghan, and I was like, "Oh, dude, he would have been so
Oh, I
fantastic."
really wish they would have gotten him for this. That just I
Because
love because I mean even with the clip that they showed, like I think Cameron did a better job. But it's one of those hard things to be the Joker,
hmm
especially. I mean, we're still in a world where Heath Ledger is still fresh when it comes to Batman
yeah,
movies and Joker movies, and
yeah.
that's who everyone compares themselves to now, which is honestly how it should be. But
I liked that they explored more of the Bruce Selena stuff
yes,
without them. He knows who she is. She doesn't know who he is,
mm-mm.
and they touch on that when see it's the mayor that's murdered first, right?
Mm-hmm. Right off the rip.
Yeah, he's murdered, and you see when it's this very awkward scene because Gordon lets Batman into the crime scene, and he's got to walk through all these cops, and they're all just looking at him because he's a vigilante. They're
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be after him, and here he is at their crime scene. And as he's leaving, he looks over and he sees the mayor's son, kind of because he had found his dad's body. And this look is exchanged because Bruce knows what he's going through. And I'm sitting there thinking, are they about to completely retcon Robin?
Mm-hmm.
Is this going to be like he takes him? They didn't do it in the film,
No.
um, but I wondered for a minute if that's what they were actually going to go for.
What cracked me up because when that happened, that's one of my first sense of the Gotham show came into it, because that was a Ben McKenzie looking at young Bruce Wayne from Gotham, like the very first episode, though that eye contact they had, and I was like,
Mm.
oh, we're about to do this, but they didn't. I got really excited. I wish the kid was a little bit more of an influence in the show than he was.
Yeah, that that was kind of weird that they didn't bring it back. I mean, he was at the funeral. Bruce saves him at the funeral.
Right. And saves him again
Because
at the end of the movie.
yeah,
So.
yeah, that was a very awkward scene because he's in this water. He's got a flare,
Mm-hmm.
right? So both of our shows this week, our movie and our show, feature flares. I thought that was
It's a
odd,
theme for the
but
week.
um, Batman has a flare, and all these people are kind of they're trapped off to the side behind this scaffolding, and there's all this water. Um, and he extends his hand out, and no one takes it.
Mm-mm.
They all just kind of look at him. And then that kid is the one that reaches out first. And then after that, the new mayor takes his hand, and then people just file out behind him. But it was like, folks, he didn't do this.
Right. He actually just
He's
saved
trying to,
all of your lives. Again.
yeah, because there's a wire, a live wire dangling,
Mm-hmm.
and he swings out to it, takes the bat symbol off his chest, cuts the wire, and falls into the water with it.
Genius.
And saved a bunch of lives because there were a bunch of people
Yeah,
in
there
that
were a lot
water
of
that
people
would have
trapped in
gotten
there.
they would have gotten electrocuted pretty quick. Um, John Turturro's in this
Mm-hmm.
also as Carmine Falcone, and that was
Phenomenal.
another thing. That was another thing that they did that was so interesting is they made him Selena Kyle's father,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, that's so. It's kind of cool because her mom worked at this same club she works at.
Right.
And she kind of had a thing with Falcone, and Selena Kyle is the result of that. But then her mom, from what I recall, her mom's murdered,
Yeah.
right? Her
By
mom's
Falcone.
killed by Falcone.
Mm-hmm.
But he never really does much in terms of coming around Selena, but he knows who she is.
Right. I don't ever really remember if he knew she was his kid.
She
Uh,
knew it was her kid
right. But I don't know if
because she,
Falcone knew that that was his daughter until the
yeah,
end.
my thing was, I think he suspected.
Mm.
He may not have known. But it's a great performance. He convinces Bruce at one point that um, I'm drawing a blank on the name. Who's the other crime boss? Um,
Penguin. Oh, the one that was never on screen.
yeah,
Those Falcone. Always the big one. I can't remember. I'll think of it here in a minute.
starts with an M.
Oh God, no, that's
Um,
bothered me too because he was in Gotham.
uh-huh. Yeah,
Crime Lords in Gotham.
but Falcone is always the one that's front and center.
Right.
Uh,
Maroney.
I
Sal
can't think.
Maroney.
Maroney. So he convinces Bruce that Maroney had Thomas Wayne killed because he and Falcone had a history, and Wayne wanted to clean up the city. That was
Mm-hmm.
a big part of his campaign.
For a
And
billion
it,
dollars.
yeah, and it turns out that Falcone had
Mm-hmm.
his parents killed. And so it's a great look at Batman at this time. He hasn't honed all of those skills yet, especially his detective skills. So he buys it. He leaves there furious at Alfred for lying to him.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Because his dad's not the perfect dad they thought it was.
right. And it ends up being a case where he believed the lie until Alfred straightened him out on it.
Mm-hmm.
I just I gave it 4 stars on Letterboxd. Um, I think it was pulling in on average a 4.2,
Yeah.
so that's fair.
Yeah.
Um, there's things I liked about it. I would be interested in seeing another one. I don't know if they're going to do that because of the Discovery merger and what they've already said about the DC universe. Unless they make this the flagship, if they can get everybody that they need to back and get them to
Keep going.
possibly build around this.
Yeah. I think
But
I think in interviews prior to the Discovery buyout, this was supposed to be. I don't know if it was a trilogy or not, but I know it was supposed to be a standalone thing from the DCEU. Now, with Discovery doing their own thing they're doing now, and seeing how much money this movie's made, because this movie did well, and it's still doing
mhm.
well, and I can see why. So this one, I enjoyed it a whole lot. I gave it a 5 on Letterboxd, and I told you before
Okay.
the show that might be my favorite Batman movie. Obviously, The Dark Knight is everyone's number one for the most part, and this one was like right there with it for me. Like the Riddler, they brought a nice, dark, gritty tone to it that was horrifying until even at the end when he wasn't when he was just himself, it was
Mhm.
horrifying. Um,
I had to I had to do a double take when we first see the Riddler.
mm-hmm,
I was like, is he wearing glasses on the outside of his mask?
mm-hmm.
But yeah, he
Yeah,
was.
they couldn't see. I mean, why not put in contacts? I don't know, but um, like it. The only thing it was a little long for me. Almost 3 hours long. But this movie went places, and I loved it. We covered a whole lot if you think about from where we started to where we are. I mean,
Mhm.
Jay like Hargo, he's in the Titans. He's gonna be the new Robin in Titans. Was in this movie, and I thought he had a
Mhm.
lot bigger impact than what he actually did. I was like, okay, they're putting him right up. He was in the gang. He was right away, and I was like, okay, he's gonna become something. But no, he was just a gang member.
Yeah,
um,
it looked like his character was about to go through an initiation.
right. And everyone else just got beat down, and I am vengeance was said, and it was really cool. I enjoyed this movie. So, our Pat's favorite Batman, I think right now my favorite out of everybody, maybe Keaton. No, so he's my favorite Batman. Now, as far as Bruce Wayne, no, nah, I did not do it for me as Bruce Wayne. I don't think there's anyone better than Michael Keaton or even we just said his name, Christian Bale. I think both of them play perfect Bruce Waynes. Arpats with his emo hair and very grungy, I guess, just didn't really do it for me. But luckily, he was not Bruce Wayne for very long in this movie. It was more Batman centered. And this
Yeah.
was, I really enjoyed it because I thought the movie was over once we arrested the Riddler. Comes find out, no, this is not over yet. And then the whole dam's breaking. Well, the what do they call that wall? Water retaining wall. And he said, we're just going to
Yeah.
flood and kill everybody.
Seawall.
Yeah. And I was like, and when it did, and it kept showing the overview shots of all the water rushing in, people on the streets and everything, I said, this is brutal.
Mhm.
And I was for it. I really enjoyed this movie. I'm really glad I got the steelbook for it too. So,
Yeah, the my favorite Batman. This one's up there,
mm-hmm.
but I think it's tough for me because it's like I do like Bale's Batman
Mm-hmm.
a whole lot. Um, and like you said, Keaton and Bale as Bruce Wayne.
Perfect.
Um, there was one line of dialogue in this that it did confuse me because I didn't understand his logic. Um, Alfred, it's near the beginning because he's wanting him to meet with the accountants,
Mm-hmm.
and he basically says, I don't have time for that. He says you need to make time, because Wayne Enterprises apparently at this point is almost in a free fall.
Right.
He's talking about you need to look out for your family's fortune and everything, and he's like, I don't care about any of that. And I'm thinking, that's how you're able to be Batman.
Right. This funds
You,
everything you do. I mean,
yeah,
even I
it's
really enjoyed the Batcave of this one too. Like it was in an old Wayne train terminal,
uh-huh.
and I was like, that's pretty cool. Batmobile, eh. Jamie really liked the
Yeah.
Batmobile, and I was like,
It,
eh.
it looked like a Corvette
Yeah, it was just a souped up muscle car.
with a booster on the back.
Right. I was like, you put indestructible windows on it and call it a day. I was like, it was
Uh-huh.
cool. But again, like it just didn't scream Batmobile to me. It screamed souped up car.
Yeah,
So,
if you're looking for gadgets, the Bale Nolan
mm-hmm.
franchise is where you want to go.
Intimidating.
They've got the tumbler, you
Mm-hmm.
know. He's flipping over and just keeps going and all that good stuff. So, yeah, really good movie though. If this is all we get of it, cool.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
If they make more, great.
Yeah. Well, we saw the Penguin series, so we'll see what happens after that. Which I am curious to watch it. I don't know how long I'll stick with it, but I do want to stay in that world a little bit more.
Now, are they supposed to make that a prequel? Are we going to see how
Oh.
Penguin became Penguin, or are we going to see? Because I feel like you can't do it at the time this movie happened, because then you have to have Batman somewhere, right?
Yeah. It's a prequel
So, okay, I'm in. I'll watch it.
because you'll have a. I imagine it will be during the Falcone takeover and his little
Probably.
rise to power after the Waynes get killed. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Next week's movie review is going to be Death on the Nile, also on HBO Max. That's right, Netflix. Take that. Um, and then in 2 weeks, our movie review is going to, of course, be Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Mm-hmm.
So next week when we record, maybe we'll do a little prediction thing on what we're going to see on
Oh,
what we
I like
what we
that.
think we'll see on Doctor Strange, or who we think we'll see, because that's a big deal too. Um, on to the news. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Part 1 has been delayed to June 2nd, 2023. Part 2 has been delayed till March 29th, 2024. And speaking of Netflix, well, they're popular this week, aren't they?
Right.
Um, Will Smith's Bright sequel has been scrapped by Netflix. Um, let's see. According to Bloomberg reporter Lucas Shaw, by the way, this comes from Comic Book Resources' Brad Lang. According to Bloomberg reporter Lucas Shaw, who responded to an article regarding the delay of a National Geographic project featuring Will Smith, Netflix has chosen to scrap Bright 2. The decision to terminate the film is allegedly unrelated to the infamous Oscars 2022 incident, which saw Smith slap host Chris Rock. The reason behind the cancellation has yet to be disclosed. It was greenlit in 2017. It says production updates on Bright 2 have been few and far between since Netflix's original announcement. Controversial writer Max Landis was confirmed to not be returning for the sequel. Following a string of sexual harassment and assault allegations, David Ayer, who directed the original film, was tapped to pen the script alongside Evan Spiliotopoulos,
I bet he
who
hated
wrote
standardized test.
who wrote Disney's live-action Beauty and the Beast movie. It's currently unknown how much of Bright 2 had been produced before it was canceled.
I
Um,
imagine it had to do with a lot of those, a lot of things. Will Smith was probably the nail in the coffin, the final one. Looks like
Yeah.
the big writer had a big sexual harassment, assault allegations, and
Yeah.
you know, green lighted in 2017. Hadn't heard anything about it. You know, sounds like the one they tried to just
It's
quietly snuff out.
well, to be fair, and I mean, I know it's going to sound funny, but it's also true. Netflix has been so busy with Ryan Reynolds projects, they haven't
Right.
really had much time
Yeah. For anybody else at this
for,
point, him and Zack
you'll
Snyder. So.
so I mean, I'm sure it has something to do with it. That's one thing. I think his only punishment is he can't go to the Oscars for 10 years.
Right.
So it's not like I think he would have had a lot more difficult time getting work if they had said something like, "No film you're involved with can be nominated."
Yeah. All they said was you can't appear. Your films are fine,
Yeah,
but yeah,
yeah,
that would have been a lot bigger of an issue.
huge. Um, but yeah, that sucks. Because I think I watched that.
Yeah, we
I
reviewed
either
that one.
watched, yeah,
Hmm.
we did.
And I think we both really enjoyed it. It was fun, dark, gritty, and we were excited for the second one. But being this
Oh
far
well,
removed from watching it, it's like, okay.
yeah.
So,
Eh. No releases this week of any note. Um, and now on to video games.
Chris, you played anything?
The show, and I started playing some out of the park baseball. So,
I still have a notification that pops up on my phone every day to play Tell Me Why. I hadn't started it yet. I know. I've been meaning to. It's still on my phone. But I have
but you
been.
got the notification
Yeah,
though,
I
so
still have the
that's
notifications. First step. It's on my brain. I have been playing Persona 5 Royal again. It came out in like 2018, 2019. And I've played it off and on since. And now I am heavily on it right now. I think I'm about halfway through. Like I'm already 40 or 50 hours in, and only halfway.
Mhm.
It's a big JRPG. It's won a lot of awards and things. So I was like, okay, I want to get through this because I did enjoy it and I have been enjoying it. I just haven't played it, so I'm gonna get through it. And I've played a little bit of Elden Ring, not much, but and it's gonna get more complicated this week. And I'll tell you why here shortly. I got three news stories here, all kind of tie into movies and TV a little bit, but it's more gaming centric. The first one is Jason Momoa to star in the Minecraft movie from Warner Brothers. I'm going to the HollywoodReporter.com by Aaron Crouch. Did not know this was a thing, but apparently it has been. Aquaman and Dune star Jason Momoa is lining up to another tentpole with Warner Brothers. The actor is in the final negotiations to star in the studio's live-action Minecraft movie. The Hollywood Reporter has confirmed. Napoleon Dynamite filmmaker Jared Heiss will direct the project based on the popular video game. Dune producer Mary Parent and Roy Lee will produce, with Jill Messick receiving a posthumous producing credit for developing the film before her death in 2018. Executive producers include John Berg, Cale Boiter, and John Spetz. The video game hails from Sweden's Mojang Studios, with Mojang's Lydia Winters and Vu Bui also producing the film.
So will there be tater tots in Minecraft?
Dude, I don't know what is going on in this film. Didn't know why this was being greenlit.
Well, it's got the Napoleon Dynamite connection, so I
Right,
figured there'd
that's
be tater tots.
Tater Tots or
S-
Lena or Tina
Will Pedro be in
or
there?
Pedro. Just, come on, Tina, come get your fat lard. Come get your. All right, it's been so long since I've seen that movie. I can't even quote it anymore. What a time that movie came out. That was a weird
Yeah,
world we were living in when that took
it
over
was.
the world. It's not even a
Yeah.
good movie. Honestly,
I,
not even a good movie.
yeah, I'm not gonna argue with you. So,
Second piece I've got here. Amy Hennig is working on a Star Wars title together with Skydance New Media. I'm going to GameIndustries.biz for this one, and this is by Brendan Sinclair. Amy Hennig is taking another shot at making a Star Wars game, as today Skydance New Media announced a deal with Lucasfilm Games to create, quote, a richly cinematic action-adventure game featuring an original story in the legendary Star Wars galaxy. Quote, I've often described how seeing Star Wars in 1977 essentially rewired my 12-year-old brain, shaping my creative life and future endably, said Skydance New Media President Hennig. I'm elated to be working with Lucasfilm Games and get to tell interactive stories in the galaxy that I love. Hennig first worked on the franchise when she joined EA in 2014 to head up development of a Star Wars title at Visceral Games. After years of work, EA shelved the game and shut down Visceral entirely in late 2017. Hennig left the company soon thereafter. So it sounds like she is getting to be work back on what she wanted to, which is great for
Yeah.
her. So,
Mm-hmm.
last one here I've got here. Dwayne Johnson will executive produce the It Takes Two movie, which will air on Amazon Video. Again, left field. They're going to
Yeah.
Collider.com by Matt Vele. Variety reports that It Takes Two adaptation has finally found a home at Prime Video for priority development, with Dwayne Johnson set to serve as a producer, with talks that he could also star in the film. Variety previously reported that the beloved game was set to be adapted in the film back in January 2022, and previously reported DJ2 Entertainment will produce the film, with now joining the project with Johnson's 7 Bucks Productions, now boarding the project along with Amazon Studios. Along with Johnson, Danny Garcia and Haram Garcia will produce on behalf of 7 Bucks. The cast for the film has not yet been decided, though the Variety report says that Johnson has also been in talks to star in the film, though nothing has yet been decided. I'm curious. I could see this movie working, and I could also see it with The Rock playing
Yeah.
the dad. So,
Yeah. Possible.
what a time. Be some crazy news this week out of the video game movie world. So,
Mm-hmm.
we'll see. Noble New releases this week. Warzone Season 3 launches on everything April 27th. Bug Snacks comes to Xbox and Switch on April 28th. Play this game. Comes to Game Pass as well. And then April 28th, the same day, Bug Snacks Isle of Big Snacks update, which is their free DLC, comes to everything April 28th, the same day. And then Nintendo Switch Sports for the Switch, April 29th. Bug Snacks, love that game. One of my, I wish I played it a lot earlier.
Never played it.
It's phenomenal. If you get Game Pass, play it this week, because I will be jumping back in on PlayStation to. It's a platinum I got earlier this year or late last year, and the DLC comes with new trophies and a whole big slew of an update on the 28th, and that's what I'll probably be playing this week.
So for those of us that have never played it,
you
what
are
is the story?
I forget
A
what
bug?
the character is called. You're like the humanoid characters. I forget what their names are. They're a certain species. But you land on this island. You're a journalistic investigator, and you got a message from one of your old colleagues that said they found something here and they need your help. So you come into the island, and all the animals, quote unquote, are snacks. Like one's a burger, one's a ice cream thing. It sounds nutty, but it is such a good, crazy game. It's fun.
I think I saw a trailer for that
Mm-hmm.
a while ago.
It's fun. There's a pizza
It
moth.
sounds familiar.
There's and there's all sorts of stuff. It's really fun, and especially that's coming to the Switch. Well, not the Switch. Well, the Switch too, but Game Pass. It's a must download. I got it for free for one of the PlayStation Plus's free updates, and I'm like, I can't believe I didn't buy this game because it is really well done. Like it's fun, so and very catchy. And I can't wait for the DLC, especially since it's got new trophies. But guys, that is it for this week's episode of the NerdWide Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the episode. Don't forget to share it on all your favorite social media platforms. Let us know how we did down in the comments as well. And don't forget to rate and review us on whatever podcasting service you are using. Social media, you can follow the NerdWide account on Twitter at nerd_wide. You can follow me personally at Ty_Haynes, although I've been posting a lot of Memphis Grizzlies stuff, so I apologize. As long as we're in the playoffs, that's going to happen. I imagine Thursday on, there'll be a bunch of Steelers things, but it is what it is. You can follow Chris at MavTN7 on Facebook. You can search at nerdwide.com where the first ones appear. Follow us on there. Instagram, not really big on there, so don't worry about that one. But guys, this has been this week's episode of the NerdWide Podcast. Thank you all so much for listening. I can't wait to talk about the next episode. I can't wait to finally talk about Superman and Lois again after 4 weeks of hiatus. Hopefully they don't do that anymore because hiatus, they hate us, But don't send them that. Cut that. But guys, we'll see you next week. Thanks so much for listening and watching.
Later, guys.